Respected dignitaries on the dais, Professor G. Ravi, the Vice Chancellor and the host of this event, Professor Krishnan, Professor Selvam, Professor Jayakantan, Professor Rajmohan, other dignitaries, distinguished invitees, scholars, members of syndicate, my dear students, friends from the media, gracious ladies and gentlemen. At the very outset, on behalf of all of us, I pay my heartfelt gratitude to the great visionary, the great nationalist, a great soul who conceived this institution, who had a large dream to build a center of excellence in education, in higher education, in a country which was devastated by centuries of invasion and colonization. The great Alagappa, he not only had the great vision, but he had the resolve to fulfill that vision and a large heart to give away all that he had, worldly possession, to build this institution. I humbly pay my respect to that great soul. I thank Professor Ravi, the Vice Chancellor, for organizing this event, and several eminent dignitaries who will add values to the day-long seminar. I am sure this deliberations over the next hours will enrich everyone, will bring greater clarity on the issues and will help pave the way forward. While the theme of the seminar, I am sure he will discuss in detail, I would like to set the context. And this context is very essential to understand for all of us, and especially for my young friends who carry the responsibility of taking us into the future. This context must be clear to you, that when we are talking about the G20, India's presidency of G20, and India's vision of the new world, which is enumerated and articulated in the Leaders' Declaration recently held in Delhi, the context of it. Friends, world order has been always in flux. It has never been static. After all, this is a living body, a living planet, living beings, and it has to be dynamic. And this dynamic world has passed through different phases. It is important to understand the background, the phases of evolution of the world order, and the present scenario where we are. And only then we'll be able to think of the way ahead. So when we talk of the world order in the past, we are not going back too far. We'll begin just with the beginning of the Common Era, the beginning of the first century. The first millennia, the first 1,000 years, India was at the center of that world order. India was the largest, if you like to put it in terms of power, than economic power. It accounted for over 33% of the global wealth production, the GDP. In subsequent years, the centuries, by the middle of the second millennia, even until then, India was at the top, competing up and down with the only rival, if you call it rival, China. There was no United States of America, there was no Europe. To many of us, and especially the many of our young friends, it might look something very surprising. Is it so? This is our past? Yes, it was. And I urge you, those of you who are curious, to go on the internet and punch a report prepared by the OECD. And you know what is OECD is? OECD is a club of the rich and developed countries of the world. The report, if you punch on the net, World Economy Millennial Perspective. The World Economy Millennial Perspective, this report has been prepared this was a study commissioned by OECD with Professor Angus Maddison, a British economic historian, as the chairperson. It is available in the form of a book also. It tells you the economic status of the world, different countries, right from the first century onward. It gives you graphic details. And what was the provocation for this? What was the provocation for OECD to start this study? The provocation was, in 1972, Paul Baruch, another economic historian, wrote an essay. And in that essay, Paul Baruch says that United States of America became rich in the last 100 years. I'm talking about 1972. United States of America became rich in the last 100 years. Europe became rich in the last 200 years. Before that, India was the engine of growth and economic powerhouse of the world. Now this essay was not palatable, easily digestible to the people, especially the rich and affluent countries. And so OECD commissioned a study under Angus Maddison, Professor Angus Maddison, which submitted its report in 1982. And that is the report, which is available on the internet for any of you to have a look. So, if you look at I'm talking about the world order. So for the first millennium, For the first half of the second millennia, India was at the helm of affairs in terms of economic prosperity. Subsequently, we declined. Actually, the decline began, and if you look at the data, and it corresponds with the developments within the country from 13th century onward. When the Central Indian invasion started on, people from Central Asia invasion started on India. And they came, the invaders started destroying the institutions of India. And when they started imposing taxes like jizya, it happened during the period of Aurangzeb, most prominently, it also had a serious impact on our economy. You know, understand what a jizya is. Jizya tax is for any non-Muslim to pay tax if you have to live in this country. This is jizya tax. So it impacted on the economy. Then came the European colonizers. They further devastated it. And so we were devastated so much that it became difficult for us to believe our own past. And so, with the decline of India, a new world order began emerging. Europeans went to America, North and South both. British and French predominantly went to North America. They colonized this. What we have, United States of America and Canada. Subsequently, they fought, eventually French exiting, British dominating. In the Latin America, Spanish and others, they went, they colonized. They started getting the wealth. Meanwhile, with the rise of Europe, they also began colonizing the rest of the world. They colonized Asia, they colonized Africa. A large part of the world was colonized. And with this wealth of coming from the colonies, Europe prospered sharply. At one point, British settlers in the United States, they broke ties with the parent country, and United States of America was created. While these changes were happening, and they were big powers were fighting among themselves for domination over the colonies, mostly the French and the British, the Spanish and the British, Dutch, all these Portuguese, they were all fighting with each other wherever the area domination. They were also fighting in Europe, and 17th century was notorious for that. At the end of what is popularly called in history 30 years of war, in 1648, the European countries, they came to an understanding what is called Treaty of Westphalia or Peace of Westphalia, under which, having fought for a long time, of which 30 years was a most intense fight, self-destructive, they realized that if we will destroy ourselves, we must, Lord, come to some understanding. And as a long, prolonged negotiations, hundreds of sittings, they came to an understanding in 1648, which is popularly called Treaty of Westphalia, where they said, look, whatever you have captured, that is your area. You have a sovereign control over it, and no other country should interfere in your affairs. That is the concept, political concept of sovereignty emerged then. There was no earlier concept like this. And with that, they controlled their fights, they restrained themselves, they started exploring new and new areas rather than invading the other. Eventually it led to the beginning of the 20th century, First World War, Second World War. Post Second World War, a world order emerged. And this world order emerged around the interest of the victor countries, the countries who were victorious in the war. They created a body which we call United Nations organizations, where the membership was given to all, but all were not equal. With the 5 countries with exclusive veto power, a new world order emerged about the two elements of material wealth, economic wealth, and military power. So, since the Second World War, the world has been by and large guided by this order, where at the pivot of that world order is these 5 countries. Institution is the United Nations and its other various auxiliary bodies. And they became the arbiter of the world. In this world order, a large part of the humanity was nowhere except for namesake membership to the organization. A large part. India was not. India, in fact, was just made a member because India was at the time when this foundation was laid. India was a slave country. India was not independent. Africa? No, it is not. A large part of humanity was left out at the margin. So the world order that we have been living for the last over almost 75 years plus, or 80 years, is the world order dominated by some countries, victorious countries, and the theme of that world order is wealth and military power. This world order was essentially Darwinian, or is, this world order is Darwinian. Survival of the fittest. If I am strong, which is nowadays it is called a smart. A smart is a more palatable word. You have the capacity, you do it, you have it. If you lose it, you lose it. No tears. Now look what this world order has given to the humanity, to the world. Today, if you look at this, the core concept, the raison d'etre, the very foundation of this new world order which was created by the victor country was there should not be any war in the world, to bring peace in the world. What happened? Soon after creation of this body and end of the war, Cold War began. Soviet bloc, US bloc. And they kept fighting in different parts of the world, whether it's Southeast Asia. We know how. Indochina, how this, Vietnam, all these areas, Laos, bombing, carpet bombing, it happened. It did not stop war. War spilled over subsequently to other parts, including the Middle East. War, visible and invisible, it continued absorbing the energy and lives of the world. It did not resolve the war. During this time, America, having demonstrated its capacity of a nuclear weapon, and that is why the world order started pivoting around the United States of America. Subsequently, there were many other countries, and today there are several countries. Each of them have enough number of weapons of mass destruction which can destroy this world many times over. We are living in an age of unstable equilibrium. Anyone can go crazy and the world is gone. Now this is, so did we get peace? Certainly not. Overt violence, covert violence, it continued, and it is still there. We are witnessing war in every part of the world. Somewhere more blatant, more visible, somewhere it is silent. But this world order, which was created to bring peace in the world, has failed to bring peace in the world. Next, till about 70, 80 years ago, nobody ever talked about a climate crisis. It was nowhere an issue. And today, we know what kind of future is awaiting us. Us means the whole planet. We know that Mother Earth is heating. We know that polar ice caps are melting. Glaciers are melting. And unpredictable weather and its consequences we are facing almost every day, one part of the world or the other. We know that there are many island countries. They know that if this continues, in the next couple of decades, they will be wiped off the map of the earth. They will be submerged. So, a climate crisis. And climate crisis because of the reckless exploitation of the resources of the earth. Excessive use of fossil fuels, carbon fuels, excessive exploitation of natural resources. Because the world view was this earth is a resource. And if I am smart, if I am capable to grab it more, I must grab it. And so the competitive war of grabbing the resources began. Even the global commons remain only a theoretical global commons. Powerful countries began capturing. We know that today even the countries are claiming that the polar areas which has been there, no man's land, they say no, this is ours. A space itself, ocean itself, wide ocean, this is open to those who are more capable. They are exploiting to the disadvantage of the others. So the climate crisis, we are all worried about the heating up of Earth, our planet. We all know that a devastating disaster is looming at us. Yet people have been blaming each other. You are emitting more, you are emitting more. I have emitted more, look, this is my lifestyle. You should not emit money more because now we must control you. These kind of things going on, but the problem is not being addressed with seriousness. So, this order, the world order, has not brought peace to the world, has created, in fact, more vulnerable world in terms of violence, in terms of mass destructions, because we have many more weapons of mass destructions spread over larger part of the world which can destroy the world, and war going on in one part or the other. Climate, there was no climate crisis before, but we have a serious existential crisis for the world. We are facing it. And take what happened a few years back, 2 years back, global pandemic. When global pandemic struck the world, no one was spared. Rich and poor, all. And at that point of time, expectation was that the advanced countries would be able to see how interconnected the world is, the problem that is virus that started in some one part of the world, soon within no time engulfed the whole world. There was no barrier for it. And it started taking heavy toll of humanity. The whole world came to a grinding halt. We were all locked inside our houses. The whole world was locked inside. And at that point of time, there was expectation that the resourceful advanced countries would be able to help the less fortunate, the poor countries. Where was this world order? This world order proved utter failure. They couldn't do anything at all. On the contrary, the rich and advanced countries who developed the vaccine nationalism grew. A mercantile approach to make opportunity to make more money. In this background, it was India. Thanks to our scientists, they developed a vaccine. And it is proved today, though initially there was a lot of skepticism, many people started talking across the world that how can India do it? Today it is established as one of the best, the most efficacious vaccine in the world. On the one hand, our scientists made the vaccine. On the other hand, another set of scientists developed an application called CoWIN. And with this CoWIN, it helped the management of vaccine and vaccination, the largest vaccination campaign in the world. Over 1 billion people to be vaccinated. And look at the beauty of it. I get my vaccine, and within seconds, my mobile gives me the certificate that I have been vaccinated, which makes my life easier. I go to either to catch the flight, to board the train, I am vaccinated. Very prudent use of resources, because the wastage of vaccine was reduced considerably. Vaccination was made possible. Not only that, we shared the vaccine with 150 countries in the world while meeting our own needs. So on the one hand, when the pandemic, the existing global order, it failed miserably, India showed the way to address the problem of a global nature. Well, if you look at all these various aspects, various crises which are facing the world and which will face the world tomorrow, whether it is crisis of war, crisis of climate. Crisis of climate is not just what is happening in different parts of the world, but the disaster which it is creating, while we have to take measures to control the deterioration of the climate, prevent the heating of the earth, but until then what? We have to be disaster resilient. Today, India is the leader in the world in creating disaster resilient infrastructure. We are not only doing for ourselves, we are reaching out to the rest of the world wherever there is a disaster, because the India's disaster resilient infrastructure building capacity and for India's capacity to deal with the disaster in terms of rescue and rehabilitation is now acknowledged across the world. Now, in this, and we are also building a coalition of the countries so that we together, we are able to meet the consequences of climate crisis. Friends, the existing world order, which is not sustainable, the fact is that today we are poised, the world is at the cusp of a transformation when there is a new world order is emerging. And this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for India to help catalyze that growth of the new world order. And I would further go to say that not only catalyze but be the mother of that emerging new world order, give birth to this new world order. And that is in this backdrop, when the world is facing numerous existential crises, the existing world order has failed miserably on all counts in addressing the problem of the world. And there is an urge for a more sustainable, inclusive and equitable world order. We have G20. G20, we know that it began as a body of the countries with larger financial clout to create a system by which to absorb any financial disturbances or major crisis. It began in the mid-1990s, and by the first decade of the present millennium, when the economic financial crisis struck the world, it became more relevant. It was essentially created to deal with the financial crisis and work out a collective and coordinated mechanism to deal with the financial crisis. But the COVID has given it yet another dimension. That the world crisis that humanity faces, or the world faces, is not merely financial. It's a human crisis also. Pandemic can be a major crisis, bigger crisis than financial crisis. And this crisis, the existing world order has failed miserably. It also needs an answer. What should be our response to? What kind of world order should be there to respond to such crisis? So G20, presidency of India, and thanks to India leadership's vision, that it enlarged the G20, it extended it far beyond its initial responsibility of a financial manager, a body to deal with the financial crisis. It became a body. India made an effort and succeeded through the declaration of the leaders that this is a body which must think, must worry about all the problems facing humanity, not only financial. It was to the India's credit that we expanded, and the world saw it. Everyone was was worried about the crisis, worried about the problems, how to go about it. I was not a part of it. How can you keep such a large body of humanity out of it, and then you think you will address the global problem? No. Thanks to India's presidency and India's leadership capacity, that G20 became inclusive by including the African Union. It became a voice, India became a voice of the global South. what India is doing and what kind of future for the world we envisage, this has to be clear to our youth, to all of us. The fundamental shift that India is bringing about, and bringing about by practicing, it's walking the talk, practicing within its own country. Fundamental shift is from the GDP-centric development to human-centric development. For all these years, we have been measuring GDP. But we know that the countries with a very high GDP has got a large number of homeless people. You have people who cannot afford medical treatment. It's again Darwinian. GDP, if it is not equitable, it doesn't bring peace. It doesn't bring prosperity, which can be shared by the larger humanity. So the shift is from GDP-centric to human-centric. And this, when we talk about human-centric, the fundamental shift is again, and this I urge you all to think over, is based on our thousands of year old cultural ethos, where we believed Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The word Yadamure Yavarum Kelir, the world is a family. And when we talk about the world is a family, this world is a family has begun the exercise with India. This country itself is a family. The fundamental change which in the last 10 years have happened with the present leadership of the country. Until then, we were also following that very model. GDP. We were addressing problems of poverty. We were addressing problems of health, problem of infrastructure, incrementally. Every government will come, get elected in Delhi. They will have a 5-year plan. For the 5-year plan, how it is prepared? Each state will prepare its own plan, come to the planning commission with annual plan, break up in annual. Well, this much is our resources, so this much to health, this much to education, this much to infrastructure. We kept building hospitals, we kept building schools and colleges, we kept building roads, we kept generating electricity, and yet, even after 7 decades of independence, India remained a home to the largest number of sick, poor, illiterate people in the world. Where did we miss? The government before were not sleeping, they were doing what they could. What was missing was the vision. We thought that incrementally we will do it. And when we do incrementally, means there are people who will be left out. This again is an European thinking, greater good for the greater number. Those of you as political science student, you know Bentham, who was the progenitor of this greater good of the greater number, greatest good for the greatest number, which was also this utilitarian view subsequently explained and elaborated by John Stuart Mill. When you think about the greatest good of the greatest number, means lesser number can be ignored. Now this is not sustainable. In our country, our cultural ethos of 1,000 years has been Sarvajana Hitaya, Sarvajana Sukhaya. Everyone, Sarvodaya. Nobody is to be left out because every individual is a manifestation of the divine. We are all member of a family. And when we are a member of a family, can we say that if a member is sick, I will only treat if the one, not the other? Can you say that, okay, I will keep some family members hungry while others will be fed? Can you say that you will give clothes only to few members, not to others? No, you cannot. This fundamental orientation that happened with the present leadership is to look at the country as a family, as a kutumbam. And that is why today, if you look at all the schemes, take it health, Ayushman Bharat. Ayushman Bharat covers every individual, every part of the country, irrespective of the state, whether it is of one political dispensation or the other. It doesn't leave anyone out. Getting medicine, generic medicine at affordable prices. Jan Aushadhi Kendra. 10 years back we had less than 1,000, hardly about 500 Jan Aushadhi Kendra. Today we have crossed 10,000 Jan Aushadhi Kendra, where you get a medicine which the branded one costs 100 rupees, this one costs you 10 rupees with equal efficacy. Multiple approaches. Building more hospitals, more medical colleges to produce doctors. Every district to have a medical college. Because we need doctors to cater to such a large number of our people. Alternative medicines. Going for our traditional wisdom, because people have lived for thousands of years before the advent of modern medicine. There are a lot of merit in our traditional system of medicine also. So give a thrust to the Ayush. Comprehensive approach so that the health reaches to every citizen of this country, irrespective of where that citizen is located. Taking electricity to every home. And today we are nearing almost 100% electrification. We are all very, very close to that. Not that we will have this much, this 5 year, this much next 5 year, no. We set a target and we continue covering every citizen. Because it's a family. In the earlier model, even in the developed states, there were regions of underdevelopment. In our own state, Tamil Nadu, which is otherwise a progressive state, there are pockets of deprivation, pocket of backwardness. There are districts which are way behind the others. And this is not only here, it's everywhere. So even in developed states, there were large pockets of underdevelopment, because the model was Darwinian. If a MLA of particular or a minister of a particular constituency, a particular district is smart, he will give to his district. No. So what we did, what the central government did, identified all over the country which are districts which were backward. 120 countries were identified, now it has come down to 112 around. It is a dynamic. Niti Aayog does the monitoring. These backward districts, all over the country, they were not called backward, they were called aspirational, to give dignity. And with a special focus, a special pumping of resources to those districts. Now, you know it, and I am very happy to share, large number of those backward districts, which are aspirational districts, have now come up, they are competing with the rest. Because this uneven development, uneven growth, it cannot be in a family. It has to be comprehensive. Another model. You know, we are all in the age of technology. How to take technology, the benefit of technology to the last man. Technology, by definition, it used to be prerogative of the elite. And so long it is a prerogative of the elite, it can be an instrument of further enlarging the gap. But what we did? Through the Digital India initiative, we took technology to the last man. Today, with the trinity of Jan Dhan, you know, Jan Dhan accounts, zero balance account, we have more than 50 crore account holders in the country. Every household is account holder.
Initially, when it was started, people mocked at it. Haha, what is this bank account? Bank account is only for the rich people. No. This 50 crores people, more than 500 million people in this country have bank accounts. Aadhaar and mobile. Combining all, it created a huge quantum force. Financial inclusion. Today, all the benefits which are supposed to reach the citizen, it reaches directly, without intermediary. Direct benefit transfer made easy. Intermediate leak is stopped or considerably reduced. It also gave dignity to the individual. For everything, people used to go for services to the government offices and used to plead as if you were asking a great favor. And the office, fair chance that you would be ill-treated. This democratization of technology, taking technology to the last man. We have reached optical fibers to almost we covered the panchayats all the way. Now we have reaching the most of the villages. Almost we have reached more than 85% of villages. We have taken optical fiber cable. So this technology, which is a force multiplier, and we are in an age of technology, benefit of it must reach every man, every woman. And with this, all the facilities, all the benefits, whether it is homeless, home to homeless, where the cooking gas to a house which doesn't have the cooking gas connection, everything is streamlined. Technology's democratization. India showed the way. How technology can be made for the benefit of everyone. And that is why our motto is not greater or greatest good for the greatest number, but it is sabka saath, sabka vikas, sabka prayas. Ellaru danum, ellaru kagum, ellaru muyarshigum. All together. This is how we move. This is model which India has offered to the world. And the world is looking at it. And in this process, when we talked about saving the planet, one of the measure was energy, or to which you will be talking today. Energy, transition from the fossil to the non-carbon. And look at 2015, when in the Paris COP, when the Prime Minister said we will set up International Solar Alliance, we said that look, energy is needed. Without energy, how do we grow? But is it necessary we have to be dependent only on fossil fuel? Can't there be any alternative? And they say, look, here is sun God, inexhaustible energy. Can't we go to him and ask for and tap in the energy? And when International Solar Alliance was created in 2016 early, there were very few countries, mostly they were skeptical. Of course, France joined India. And today, more than 100 countries are member of it. International Solar Alliance is now a reality. When we started solar energy in 2016, and today we have increased more than 25 times the energy, solar energy that we are generating today. The installed capacity of our solar energy is over 71 gigawatt. Similarly, other alternative energy. Wind, moving in a big way. Energy from waste, moving in a big way. So non-nuclear, non-carbon, nuclear is not possible right now, but we have set a destination. We have set a goal. By 2070, we will be net zero emission. By 2030, we have a target that we will be 50% of our energy need will be from clean energy. We have a target to generate 500 gigawatt of clean energy. Today, When I'm saying it today, my data is not of today. My data is of August this year. We have installed capacity of 131 gigawatt already. I'm very sure that we will reach the target of 500 gigawatt energy, clean energy before 2030. We are moving with determination, walking the talk, showing the world. Hydrogen is a new entry. In 2015, as 16, when we had started the solar and all, nobody had thought of at that point of time that hydrogen will play such an important role. And today it is a reality. And I'm happy that this university, Alagappa University, is doing a leading work in hydrogen, creation of hydrogen energy. I'm very happy about it, thanks to the leadership. So, this today, with our sustainable lifestyle, which we are trying, we have also given a call. Numerous, if you start counting, there is no end to it, you will keep counting. For the food security, when India suggested millet, because every place doesn't have sufficient rain. So in the climate resilient crop, millet. And at the India's initiative even declared it as Year of the Millet. There is a greater thrust on it, more nutritious, and it can be grown, cultivated in a less water area. Lifestyle for sustainable climate, for environment, sustainable environment. This movement started. For general fitness and well-being, yoga has started. The world has started accepting what India gives the advice, because India is demonstrating it. And it is through all these initiatives, that within less than 10 years, from the 10th economy in the world, we came to the 5th, and the world acknowledges that soon we are going to be number 3. We are experiencing comprehensive transformation. But this transformation is not only for India. We are doing this transformation for the whole world. When the G20 presidency came to India, we gave the motto, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is a family. We must grow together, because that is where our future lies. That is where our destiny is. We cannot remain in a world order which is competitive, and full of rivalry, which is essentially Darwinian. This is not acceptable, this is not sustainable. We are growing based on our centuries-old cultural ethos that believes that the divine is present in every being. Not only humans, but even in animals and plants. Respect the nature, respect the plant, respect the animal, respect every human being. All of you, several hundred of you sitting here, 1,000 of you sitting here, I should be able to see myself in all of you, and you also be able to see me in you. This is India. This is not a slogan. This is not a political statement. This is our way of life. This is our cultural ethos, which we have inherited for thousands of years. And along this ethos, we have to build a new world order. And this is fulfillment of a dream, which even Rishi Aurobindo, on 15th of August 1947, when India became independent, Rishi Aurobindo, you must have heard his name, he wrote a dream. On that very day, the day has come. The day has come for India to fulfill its destiny. And its destiny is to save the world. Save the world with Indian values. And the values is, we are a family. We are a kutumbam. Friends, in the course of the day, I am sure on the specific theme you will discuss, you will deliberate, and a lot of good will come out of it. I just wanted you to be conscious of the context, because today, especially my young friends, you are the one who will be carrying the responsibility. Today India is poised to be at the cusp to create a new world order. It's not the time for us to think small. It's not a time for us to think incrementally. It's a time for us to think bold. Take big decisions, bold decisions, and have a strong resolution to fulfill the decision. And with this, we have an obligation that in the next 24 years, by 2047, when India completes the centenary of independence, India will be in a position which will guide the destiny of the world. Thank you very much. Wish you all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor Ji, for instilling and throwing light on the crux of the world order, Vasudeva Kudumbam, and instilling the